Welcome to this tutorial on routing with FLIR Thermal Studio. I'm Bella of the Infrared Training Center, here to help you get the most of your reporting software. Now, Thermal Studio offers an array of features that allow you to process your infrared images, track trends in your thermal data, and create comprehensive inspection reports. For this particular module, we're going to focus on routing. What is routing and why can it be beneficial? How to create a route file, run an inspection on your infrared camera, and then create a report of the inspection. Before getting started, you will need a comprehensive list of all the assets to be scanned. What are the specific inspection points that need to be captured? Is there any important details that need to be considered for the asset or inspection point, such as specific safety consideration? The asset may be in confined space and appropriate caution must be taken. Are there safe approach distances to be considered? Is any specialized PPE required, such as breathing masks or fault restraints and others? To start the routing process, in the Routing tab, select the new route. An empty screen will be displayed where the route will be built, but down the right side are inspection properties and a status list that can be used during the inspection. Let's take a closer look at this. The raw properties establishes the flow of the inspection. The thermographer will have an opportunity of modifying any or all the properties prior to running the inspection. As displayed here, a default status can be established. The thermographer will have an opportunity in selecting a different status from the list. Auto Next will automatically display the next inspection point to the thermographer after an image has been captured. If the thermographer needs to override the default status, he or she will have to edit the capture data by backstepping the process. If this is left unchecked, that thermography can set the status manually before or after an image has been stored. Require Image establishes that an image must always be captured, regardless of whether anomaly has been found or not. Delete. Empty inspection points will reduce the inspection file size when no images or data has been stored for an inspection point. Note, however, no corresponding analysis page in the report will be created. Status list can be modified if required. The associated colors can be altered, and additional status levels can be added. If a label of a status needs to be altered, it must be deleted first and then new status added. The structure of the route is hierarchical. The route starts with a group, which may be a section or division of your organization. A route file may have multiple groups. Within the group will be multiple assets, and each asset may have one or more inspection points. The route file can contain numerous groups and assets. It is recommended that the size be left manageable. I'm going to create a small route file to demonstrate the components that should be in a route. First I'm going to do is create a new group. I'm going to rename this group to the sample route Paul's office. While here I'm going to have the default status to be OK, but I'm going to require an image. So an image will always be captured regardless of whether an anomaly was discovered or not. I'll now add an asset. Again, we can give the asset a name. In this case, I'm going to call the asset the household electrical panel. That panel is going to have some inspection points. Let's rename the first inspection point that I want scanned to be circuit 31A or B. Okay, then I'm going to add another inspection point to this asset. And in this case, I'm going to ask the thermographer to look at circuit 10 and 12. Then I'm going to add another asset. So I'll go back up to the route, and I'm now going to add a new asset, and again, we'll give it a new name. And in this case, it's going to be the old emissivity lab. And then the first inspection point on the this emissivity lab will be the electrical reference, tape reference. And at this point, I would like to give the thermographer some specific instructions. So I'm just going to slide this so we make this bigger. And the comment I want is to have the thermographer ensure emissivity on camera is set to 0.95. Just as a reminder. And then now add another inspection point, and I'm just going to simply call it the lower right sample surface. And then another inspection point, upper left sample surface. As you can see, the hierarchy is very graphical. That's what I like about this interface. We are now going to establish another asset. So I've got to go back up to the root, and we're going to add a new asset. And in this case, this asset is going to be the EST black body reference. And I'll now add another inspection point. I'm going to rename this to something fairly simple, call it the BB surface. But for this inspection point, what I want to do is provide instructions to the thermographer to ensure target is centered in image. At this point, we should save it. I suggest that we save it directly onto our computer. So I'm going to do a save as the extension always has to be Route X. So I'm just going to call this Paul's office because I may need to recall it, make some adjustments to the template. I might want to change the order of either the assets or the inspection points within the assets, or I may want to add other assets to it. The routex file now needs to be loaded into a specific folder name on the camera. The folder name is Roots and can be created in one of two ways, using the Window File Explorer or enabling the routing option on the camera. You can store many routing files as needed onto the camera, and it is suggested, however, that you do not overwhelm the thermographer with too many options. Now let's move to the camera. Start routing and then enable the inspection route itself. At this point, I can go and adjust the inspection settings and change them for what they were established using Thermal Studio Pro. I turn them on and go and change whichever ones I want. At this point, I am going to leave the settings as they are and then go and select the route. In this case, I'm going to select Paul's office and start the inspection. Camera is getting organized. First inspection point is circuit 31A or B. I decided to look at 31B and capture the image. Image is captured, and the green OK status is displayed and verified for me pressing the next arrow. That's when I need to look at circuit 10 and 12. When I do that, I immediately decide that I want to adjust the status to critical, so notice it's now red. Capture the image and the current status. Press the right pointing arrow again, and I'm prompted with ensuring that the emissivity should be set to 0.95. If I've forgotten what that message was or went displayed too fast, I can reselect it by pressing the notepad on the screen. At this point, I will go and verify that the emissivity is set to 0.95, which it is. I can now successfully capture the image. Yeah, default status is green. Press the next right pointing arrow and I'm prompted to look at the lower right sample surface. So let's move down to that. Nothing abnormal, so I'm just going to capture the image, which means the status will be defaulted back to OK green. Select the next right pointing arrow. Wait for the prompt to show up. In this case, it's the upper left sample surface. I've decided not to inspect this for whatever reason. I'm just trying to show you the different options here, so could not inspect. But I would still want to save the image, so that is notified and documented in the root. Right pointing arrow again, next inspection point. In this case, it is the black body reference. Again, the note moving to the black body reference, I can then capture the image. It's centered and the default is captured and the default status is captured. At this point, I can now go back to routing. I'm finished the routing, so I'm going to go and finish it. I could pause it, come back later on and restart it, but the inspection has now been finished. You'll notice that the default name is the root name and then a date and time of when the survey was done. Completed inspections will be stored in a file folder created by the camera called Inspections. All the inspections that are currently on the camera will be listed here. The naming convention is based on the name of the route file and the date and timestamp. The inspection file can be loaded directly from the camera into Thermal Studio, but it is recommended that you copy the files to the computer and delete them from the camera as they can tend to be very large. Once you've copied the inspection file from the camera to your computer, restart Thermal Studio Professional, navigate to the Routing tab and then the Inspection sub-tab. Open the inspection file, and what will be displayed is the route and the color-coded status, as was captured by the thermographer during the inspection. Thermal Studio Professional is delivered with some predefined, heavily structured routing report templates, which can be found in this tab. The one I'll discuss briefly will be the inspection default template. You may want to run some tests, routes, inspection files through these to determine which one might be of some use for you. This list down the right are document properties that can be used to populate the report. As you can see, there's a large number. You may not want to use them all or have a need to use them all. You can always delete the empty fields in the report. So I'm just going to create a couple of fields here, or update a couple of fields here. There's some generic information. Camera model can be added here, serial number, so on and so forth. Want to give it a specific name. The default template uses spot 2, spot 3, both those temperatures subtracted from the max temperature of box 1. If you plan to use this template routinely, I would suggest that you have the thermographer place the measurement tools in the appropriate location while out in the field. We did not do that in this experiment. These list is very special. Think of them as text annotation fields that are embedded into the image at the report level. The drop-down entries can be established in another tab that we'll discuss later. But what we can do at this point in time, we can enter Paul's office, for instance. Now what's unique is whatever we fill in here will auto-populate the tables that I'll talk about later. Nature of the defect, no defect found. Reason for defect not applicable. We'll just use this recommended action. We'll see. No action required. We're going to add priority. We'll give it a low priority. 1 is the lowest priority, 3 is the highest priority. And this process, I need to add the measurement tools. Even though it starts with uses spot 2, I have to still establish spot 1 for the naming convention. So I'll just arbitrarily place 3 spots in a rectangle here. Save these changes to the image and the inspection file. We'll do that for one more. Let's do this one surrounding again, it remembers. So we'll select Paul's office. Nature of defect, high. Temperature reason for defect, we can say it is overload situation. Recommended action, that's a replace circuit. Breakers after load has been decreased. How does that sound? We can keep adding more, and in this case, this is a priority 3 and we can save that. What I now need to do, of course, is add my spots. So I'll just arbitrarily put them here. I'm not going to put a spot here because I know that's a reflection of the metal tab, and then a rectangular box 1 around the hot area, and save that. Of course, I can do that for the rest of the images. Again, for this demonstration, I won't be doing that. So I can now save the changes to the inspection file. And now go ahead and generate the report. I'm going to use the inspection default as mentioned earlier and let the process run. Here's the completed report. As you can see, the document properties that I took the liberty of filling in prior to the generation have been added here. We can see that there's a large number of other document properties that can be used, of which I did not take the liberty of updating. A table of contents is automatically created with the report generation. This is a page listing what's going to be included in the analysis page of each image that was captured. If the image were geotagged at the time of capture, a map will be displayed here, identifying the location of each of the images. This option is best suited for outdoor applications where geotagging is much more prevalent. For instance, if a substation was monitored, the location of each image within that substation will be displayed here, and a visual representation of the route can be displayed. This summary of equipment is actually extracted from the inspection file. As we can see, the list of assets and inspection points are here. The status as was determined by the thermographer out in the field or possibly changed prior to the generation of the report. Here is a sample page of analysis. We can see where the calculations of temperatures have been established here. Some of the information that I entered as I'll use the word text annotations are displayed here. We can go down to the next page and see that it's been filled in. The report can be saved, recalled, edited, should be required, or as recommended in previous applications, exported as a PDF or printed as a PDF. You may want to create your own route reporting template and take advantage of some of the naming conventions that were established during the route or inspection. For instance, the asset inspection point and status. Thermal Studio uses internal variables that are associated through those terms. If we look at this table here, what's down the left column is the name of the fields I'd like to use in my report. Down the right side are the internal names of those fields that Thermal Studio uses. If we return back to our Thermal Studio, I'm going to exit this to create your own routing template. There's a couple of other steps. What I've done is I'm going to edit and show you the template I created in previous sessions for Thermal Studio. I changed that to look like this, and we can see it takes on the same form, but in the summary table, I've called it Route Summary, and the device name and measurement point name are the internal variables that Thermal Studio uses. Asset and inspection point as the ones I like to use. Thermal Studio does allow you to rename the text annotations to whatever you'd like and maintain the internal allocation, and I did that as well on the analysis page where I've done this. So what I can do, for instance, is in this case, I'm going to rename this to simply say the asset, even though in the summary table it's going to stay device name. Just to demonstrate the ability here and again here, I'm going to remove the internal label. As far as it's concerned here, Thermal Studio will maintain the allocation and measurement point, and then I'm just going to save this on top of the existing one. Now, the issue is that Thermal Studio stores its templates in the hidden files, and there's a separate area for the templates used in routing. We need to move the template from the standard folder to the imported into the routing area. To do this conveniently, select the template you want to access, and then go to Open Containing Folder. As you can see, these are where the templates for general reporting are held. The one I want to copy is this one, so I'm going to do a Control-C and store it. I have created a folder called Routing, and I'm going to store it there because I'm going to have to import it into Thermal Studio in the routing side of things. So let's go back to routing. Let's open up the previous inspection point. I'm going to go to Create Inspection, but now I'm going to import, and I'm going to import it from my routing template folder and open it up. And now I'm going to select it to generate the report. Now, I didn't bother filling in all the information, but the purpose of this is to demonstrate how we can create a custom. So there we go, this device name and the measurement points plus the status that came from it and the delta. Again, this template is looking for specific deltas. I did not save the images accordingly, but we can see where I've still have the allocation of asset and inspection point in the report. Okay, if I wanted to get proper deltas, I can go and say, let's go to the next one and move things around. Do a save, exit. And if we go back to the summary table, we now have updated delta. Let's look at page 6 just to show that we can get a positive number, and you can see why we're getting numbers that we are. So I'm going to move this just arbitrarily here and move 1. Whoops, let's move this guy down here. Save, exit, and go back to the summary table. And we see now we have a positive number 2.6. I can of course save this report, edit it at any future time. This concludes the session on routing. Thank you for your attention and have yourself a great day.